Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Obviously, the summer is starting to warm up. The housing market is doing exactly the opposite, and kind of an interesting time out there. I'm your host, Stephen Meade with Domicile Real Estate, where we are on a mission to help California's renters become homeowners and to stay homeowners, which is our other goal here. This is our Southern California first-time buyer market update. It is June 24th, 2022, and I thought I would start off with something that might be useful to you. So that is 3 ways that are almost free, and I'll get into that in a second, that you can greatly reduce payments in a very noticeable way. So if you're feeling like the interest rate increases have started to price you out of the market or reduced your qualifying or done on a bunch of other things, there actually are 3 ways that you can get some relief on that. So the very first way that you can get relief, and this doesn't cost you any money at all, is to look at adjustable rate mortgages instead of 30-year fixed rate mortgages. There are actually a couple of credit unions right now, especially if you have a decent down payment, that are being very aggressive on rates on 7-year ARM loans or adjustable rate mortgages. And what that means is that your loan is fixed for the first 7 years of the loan, and that's it. So that's way number 1. Way number 2 to lower your payments is if you do not have a large down payment, right? If you are a 5 or a 10% down buyer, or even a 15% down buyer, one of the negatives is that you have to get mortgage insurance with most loan types. However, if you are well qualified, by well qualified, I'm talking about credit score, you can actually get something that is called a single premium mortgage insurance payment. What that means is you make 1 payment when you get the loan for mortgage insurance, and that's it. Play your cards right in a market like this, and you can actually get the seller to pay for that so you don't have to. Okay, so that's method number 2. Method number 3 is something that we've not seen in a long time, but I'm kind of excited to see it come back. It is called the graduated payment mortgage. So a lot of first-time home buyers, you might be new in your career, you might be expecting your income to go up. Maybe you just want to have a softer adjustment to buying versus renting. You want to see how it's going to affect your finances first. A graduated payment mortgage basically is where you pay a sum of money up front, and for the first year, in what's called a 3-2-1 buy down, in the first year, the rate is 3% lower than it should be. In the second year, it is 2% lower. In the third year, it is 1% lower. And then years 4 through 30, it goes to whatever the standard nominal interest rate was. And again, if you play your cards right, this is something where it is possible to get the seller to pay for this. So obviously, as you might imagine, if you knocked off 3% off of the interest rate for the first year of the loan, that makes a substantial difference in the payment. So if you want to know more about these, if you want us to actually do a little bit more of an in-depth video with some math and some real numbers and real houses and all that, just put that in the comments below. Say that you want to see that, and we will create that video for you. We'll put a little bit more in depth and actually go over real numbers. So let's go over what is happening in that market. Why can we suddenly get concessions out of sellers? And I'm going to show you. So, okay, here are our closed prices, right? And our closed prices, remember, these are 4 to 6 weeks old. These prices are actually holding pretty steady for our entry-level single-family homes. And they did dip a little bit this week for our condos, but when we look where are we at, that's about where we were, kind of in this end of March, beginning of April timeframe. We do see a good amount of fluctuation week to week. You see that, so you're really looking for that smooth trend. What do we see here if we try to draw out a trend line? Maybe an ever so slight downward and kind of angle on this, but for the most part, we're going to call these pretty flat on closed prices. So we're not seeing substantial differences in prices showing up in these closed sales. Now, if we look at our total payment, as you can see, that number continues to go up here for that entry-level single-family home buyer. It is above $5,500 right now. And again, this is based on a 5% down, 30-year fixed rate mortgage, including mortgage insurance, taxes, et cetera. This is kind of a bit of a worst case scenario, as it were, for the highest it could be. and you're right in that middle 5,500 zone. For our entry-level condo, which is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, we are below 4,200 on that number. So there's actually a pretty substantial spread at this exact moment in time between the entry-level condo and entry-level single-family home. It's kind of interesting. It's a much bigger spread than we've seen really historically. So that might just be an anomaly in some of this data. That's what we're hoping to. We've actually gotten a little bit of interest rate relief in the last couple of days. We take our numbers once a week for this, a number that Freddie Mac publishes based on kind of a national average. So, these numbers might actually be a little bit better than this suggests. And again, this is based on a 30-year fixed. You have that option to go with one of those adjustable loans that has that initial fixed rate period. And then just as kind of a reminder, what is the minimal amount of household income that's required to qualify for these? We're at 104,000 here for our entry-level condo, and we are just under $140,000 for our entry-level single-family home. If you look at our absorption rate, what have we watched this absorption rate do? It's actually been a fairly steady decline. This wouldn't so much be a crash, but really a market that's just kind of gradually starting to cool off, probably since about the end of March here. These numbers have been coming down. And where have we ended up? Well, we're at a 66% absorption rate, 14-day absorption rate for our entry-level condos. That is a pretty balanced market, maybe a slight seller's market. And then we are mid-50s for our entry-level single-family home. That is squarely in kind of balanced market territory, meaning we're not really seeing either side of a particular advantage. This is about what we call a normal market where supply and demand are fairly closely balanced. Now, if we look at our total inventory, right, this is the one that's especially interesting. We see both of these have gone up, both our entry-level condo here in the blue and our entry-level single-family home in the red. Our condo level is still, maybe we've reached right about where we were last year. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Condos are a lot more affordable, so that market, really that inventory just hasn't quite grown the same way. But look at our entry-level single-family homes. This is the reason why you're able to get these things like seller-paid interest buy-downs or even seller-paid upfront mortgage insurance premiums. It's this added volume. If you find the right seller in the right house in the right situation, you could really get some things, concessions that really we were only dreaming about 6 months ago, a year ago. And so if we look, where was the peak of our inventory last summer? It was in August here, the middle of August, and basically right around 1,750, 1,800 homes. As of right now, we were at right about 2,450. So that is roughly a 25% increase in inventory for our entry-level single-family homes. If we look at our 14-day still active percentage, that's kind of another little bit of a measure of market competitiveness. We've kind of been up in this little upper zone here, and we're kind of sitting around in this zone, not really moving a whole lot. So things kind of moved upward here, and they're kind of in this area. We'll have to see if these continue to go up or not. And then finally, we have our week supply of homes. So this obviously takes a look at not just the absolute amount of inventory, but based on how fast homes are selling. And right now, for entry-level condo, we have around just a little over 6, maybe 6.5 weeks, and we are a little over 7 weeks of inventory for our entry-level single-family homes. Now, I have a little bit of a guess and a theory about what's going to happen. I think that you are going to find that some of these sellers on this market are going to give up and pull their homes from the market. They're going to decide now is not the time for me to move. I don't need to move. I have plenty of equity in my house. Why should I do that? So we're in this phase of the market that's kind of a weird sort of like the ground is unsteady. Buyers and sellers aren't sure what to expect about the future. The bad side of that market is you don't know what's going to happen in the future. The good side of that market is that, you can possibly, if you're a buyer, take advantage of that uncertainty if you find a seller who does need to sell, job change, divorce, some of these reasons that maybe they can't control the timing of that sale. That's when you're able to negotiate some of these concessions that we talked about, especially on a home that maybe doesn't show well, the sort of proverbial good bones house, right? Which is my favorite kind of house to sell for first-time home buyers because there's some easy ways to get some built-in equity on those homes as well. So anyhow, thanks so much for watching. Happy Friday. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. If you would like to become a homeowner, or you know someone who should be a homeowner, and I think we all know someone like that, we would absolutely love to meet and work with them if they are in the Southern California area. So do not hesitate to reach out. And finally, if you want to see a video just about ways to reduce payments and reduce that financial strain with actual numbers and math, write that in the comments below so that we can see that. And if we see a few of those comments, we will actually go ahead and make that video for you here in the next week with real numbers. And yeah, thanks so much, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again real soon.